What's going on, everyone? Man, have I got some funny stuff for you today. But before we get into that, I just wanted to tell everybody that Donnie had a live premiere today on Kent Hope's channel. So I hope you guys all saw that. It was on endogenous retroviruses, and he got interviewed by Matt Powell, gave a rundown, kind of gave a description of what they were, what they are, what they do, how they are a good proof for young Earth creation and not evolution. So if you guys aren't very familiar with the subject, it's a good one because it's a presentation. It's laid out in a good format. So that's the way to go right there. I didn't really plan on going live right now, but I did have a fun couple things to go over. One is going to be a video we're not going to watch first because I wanted to get into the funniest things ever first. And that's right, my friends. Homosexuality led to the extinction of dinosaurs. When I read this, I was like, this is so awesome. I can't believe this is a theory. And then I looked at the picture. I'm like, wait a minute. Why do they have Mark Armitage on the cover? He never said that. And we've interviewed this guy personally multiple times. So I have no idea. I read the article and have no clue why they literally put him on the cover of this. It's just absolute nonsense. He has nothing to do with it. And the person that they said, a renowned paleontologist, this guy, Anthony Othman, you don't really see much about him. I don't know where he came up with this. I don't know where he's posted this, if it's peer-reviewed or not. He said it's a 2014 Oxford University study that showed amongst amphibians, reptiles, and birds, homosexuality behavior is common. Sure, but that doesn't mean that's why the dinosaurs did it. So I guess this person extrapolated, perhaps that could be why. I didn't look too much into this study because of this one right here. And that's right. The pyramids were built with the help from dinosaurs. So I read the article and I didn't investigate anything first. I just read through the article. Okay. This person, supposedly Egyptologist, Nabir al-Salmud, uncovered ancient papyrus manuscripts and stones that dated back 3,500 years that he says prove that the Egyptians might have used dinosaurs to help build these pyramids. They date back to the Great Pyramid, and it states that he said the plates kind of translate to them using these giant beasts, and that they lived in the water. And beforehand, the Egyptologists believed that these were whales. And then they found that said, no, they lived in water and on land. And they had huge tails that could kill an army with sweeping across it. And they had long, distended necks. They lived in water and on land, and they ate the grass from the Nile. So clearly, this is talking about some type of brontosaurus, right? It's pretty obvious. The artwork seems to depict this. Obviously, some type of artistic liberation was there because they got little funny ears, and I don't know, but it shows that they are being tamed here and being used. So I did some digging and I looked this person up. I found nothing. This picture is not of him. This is actually a young Earth creationist. Some of you might recognize because I just had a video with him in it. I believe it's Don Patton, and he did not say dinosaurs helped build the pyramids. So I'm not sure why they have him on there. And plus, this picture with the brontosaurus in the background is in America. It's not in Egypt. So the person nor the picture match what the story is going on here. So it's a clickbait headline with a clickbait picture, and with a clickbait made up Egyptologist that I couldn't find anywhere. Does that mean that this story is fake? Well, I don't see any writings of papyrus mentioning dinosaurs helping build it. And the picture in hieroglyphics and in these artworks are of a mythical type of a creature, but it wasn't Ra-Nit-Ka, which is the beast, god beast, which the Egyptians were talking about, and which this person says helped build the pyramids. This picture actually refers to a mythical animal in Egyptian mythological legend, which is kind of like the body of a cheetah, kind of like a lion. It's a cat creature anyway. That's why it kind of has cat heads. Anyway, if they were going to use the other pictures, which would make way more sense, they should have. They did not. And for these would be the pictures that I'm talking about. Hold on, that's not it. There we go. These are pictures that make a lot more sense and that they found in Egypt. Ooh, small, got to zoom in for you. These are some more of the images that where we see these long neck creatures alongside of other animals, and they just don't fit in. We literally have literal animals next to this mythical animal, so that really just doesn't make much sense. Maybe it was something that lived for a while, and then the stories got, you know, that telephone game, right, where it got passed down generation after generation and then just got lost in mythological legend, and then they passed on this version that maybe this brontosaurus like creature was had the body of a cat. I don't know. But nonetheless, very weird, very peculiar. And then I found the dinosaurs died from having sex with each other. That was just from the same people, by the way. This is the same news, Daily World News reports. It's the same publication. So I don't know. Not too trustworthy, if you ask me. Funny, but not trustworthy. I mean, absolutely hilarious, these things. If this had more credibility, I would be sending it to Matt Powell because it's just so funny. He would have a field day with it. But unfortunately, I think he would get attacked because they would be like, oh, look at this fake news article. Matt thinks it's real. It's like, he's not saying it's real. This guy's saying it's real. If it's fake news, then it'll just get kicked down. But funny enough, you know, evolutionists believe so much crazy nonsense anyway. It wouldn't surprise me if they actually believe this at all. So I'll investigate more on this one and dig deeper like I did this article over here and tell you if there's any validity to it whatsoever. In this one, though, I'm going to say at a scale of 1 to 10, this is like a 1. I literally couldn't find anything of it being true at all. So they could have done a lot better job if they were trying to fake an article, because I found more information looking into this than they actually had in the article. That's really bad. I mean, that's pretty sad. So I don't have long to go on this one. Maybe we can cover a little bit of this video. I thought it'd be fun. I can do it again later. It goes back to the Aaron Ross phylogeny challenge, where he said pick a species that God created, pick anything, right? So I answered the phylogeny challenge a long time ago with a couple different created kinds, and one of them was the cat kind. And this video is just more proof that cats are a completely created kind. And they admit this multiple times in the video begrudgingly. They don't want to admit this, but they admit that cats have no ancient ancestors. They don't have a phylogenetic tree. They literally just have cats being cats that arise out of nowhere. And they say it multiple times. And I only paused this video 3 times to where I can interject. So I will share this video with everybody because I was asked upon request if I could ever review these Eon videos on PBS, because they promote evolution quite a bit. So I want to do that upon request. I usually try to do custom request answers, and we will go over that now. This video isn't too long. Yeah, 5 minutes, 15, so 6 minutes. Not a long video. Let me make sure I size it good so you guys can see it. Looks pretty good to me. I'll keep an eye on chat, and we'll jump into it right now. I'm going to hold the microphone close so you guys can hear it good.
Today's big cat species evolved less than 11 million years ago, just a blip in geologic time, and yet their evolutionary history remains an almost total mystery. The fact is, we don't know exactly where and when modern big cats split off from the rest of the cat family tree and diversified into the species we know today.
All right, already first stop right there. That's because they don't don't know of any other model of ancestry besides evolution. So therefore, they're not allowed to think outside the box. Something has to fit into the paradigm. This one doesn't. So we're going to get into that now and why they're so confused by it. And why it's so important to have another alternative to the ancestry model, such as the biblical model of ancestry, because there needs to be something alternative for when there are massive discrepancies in the model, like evolution has.
Their ancestry is so hard for us to make out that it's known as a ghost lineage. We simply don't have enough fossils to understand their origins. Until very recently, we thought that all of the big cats evolved in Africa, which on the face of it makes total sense. After all, lions and leopards live in Africa today, and fossils of big cats and their ancestors have been found in Africa dating back several million years. But many of those fossils are of modern species, like our familiar African lions, or of recently extinct species that are very similar. So where did those ancient cats come? The fact is, we don't have any record of big cats' ancestors. This is why their ancestors are known as a ghost lineage, a line of descent that we know exists, but no fossil evidence has been found for it. At least not yet. So without fossils, without the remains of these animals, their lineage on the tree of life is just a big question mark. Take lions, for example. The oldest fossils of modern lions, the species known as Panthera leo, are about 2 million years old, found at Olduvai in Tanzania. So at least by 2 million years ago, we know that modern lions were alive and well, along with modern leopards, which have been found at the same site. Before that, the oldest evidence we have for lions' ancestors are fragmentary fossils of lion-like cats from Laetoli, also in Tanzania, dated to about 3.5 million years. But these fossils are almost impossible to discern from modern species, and in fact, some researchers think that they actually are the remains of Panthera leo, and because they're so fragmentary, the bits that would help distinguish them are just missing. Beyond that, the trail goes cold. We haven't found fossils for any would-be proto-lions that led to these big cats found at Laetoli and Olduvai. And the same is true for the rest of the modern big cats. Fossils of modern-looking leopards are also found at Laetoli. Before that, ghost lineage. Likewise, the fossil history of jaguars goes back about 1.5 million years in North America, and snow leopard fossils from Pakistan may be as old as 1.4 million years. And as for how they got there, they're all ghost lineages. On top of all of that, most cat skeletons look very similar to each other, except for their size, so it's often really hard, if not impossible, to know which species you found. Put all of these things together and you wind up with relatively few fossils to work with. But even if fossils are scarce, we still have another option that can help us get to the origin of a species: genetics. With genetic analyses, we can sometimes fill in gaps in the fossil record, and one way to do that is by using the molecular clock method. This method combines what we know, or at least what we think, about how often genetic mutations occur, and then applies that to DNA samples to plot the evolutionary history of various species. But to be accurate, this molecular clock needs to be calibrated.
The molecular clock. The clock needs to be calibrated. The clock needs to be calibrated.
This molecular clock needs to be calibrated.
The latest molecular clock calibrations.
And when it comes to the big cats, this clock is hard to use for a couple of big reasons. First, some of the fossils we could use for calibrating our clock, like the big cat from Laetoli, aren't confidently identified. Because they're fragmentary and look so much like modern species, there are some doubts about which species they really are. Meanwhile, other fossils, like the oldest potential fossil evidence for tigers, for example, aren't well dated, so they can't be used to calibrate our clock either. So what we need is a well-known and well-dated fossil to help us better calibrate our analyses.
All right, so there was a lot to unpack there. The first thing I remember going back into the video is that they mentioned that it should be predicted that lions and tigers evolved in Africa because that's where we find them today. That doesn't make really any sense, but that's evolution's paradigm. That's what they think and that's what they said. And we do find them there, but what sense would this make? Okay, we have something, an animal that's on the ark. We know that everything that went to the north didn't do so well. Matter of fact, most of them went extinct. We'll take the mammoth, for example. We'll take the dire wolf for another example. Then we'll take the woolly rhinoceros, and we'll take the saber-toothed cat. Okay, we have all of those, and we have the cat. They went north, all of them. got either starved to death, reproduced isolation, and inbred themselves into non-existence. Even human beings that went that way did the same thing. Recessive problems, we died. You know why? Because we ended up turning into cannibals. We ended up consuming them, and they consumed each other, and that was the end of everything. They all died out. Bad decision. Everything that went south survived. That's why we have cats in India and tigers in India, and we have lions and cheetahs and tigers, or other cats in Africa. It's because they went to these warm regions first. It makes sense. Animals are fairly intuitive. They go down in these regions, they're going to stay there. They're not going to stay where they got off the ark. There wasn't a lot there. As you know, it's desert. So not a very good location to stay, especially if it landed on a mountain. Animals are going to migrate. That's what they do. And cats are predatorial. They go after whatever is moving around. They follow their food source. So if the food source is moving into Africa, guess where the cats are going to go? It only makes sense. So the first thing they did is they made the assumptions that lions and tigers evolved in Africa. They went down there and they found some fossils. And then they said, well, we can't tell if these fossils are cat, even though they're identical. Think about that for a second. Absolute lunacy, right? They said all cats look pretty much identical, and we found some fossils, but maybe they're not the same kind. Okay, well, who cares? That doesn't make any sense. Of course, there's the same type. You would be able to tell based on the teeth, basically, on what geographic location that they lived in, and usually cold on land and in water. Aquatic species as well get larger in cold water, and they get smaller in warmer weather. That's usually the trend anyway. So what do we see? We see these cats, and we're finding them larger in the north, and then they get smaller in the south, but they're not thinking about this in terms of another model. They only accept evolution. So what they did? Okay, well, now they went to the fossil record. So now they're starting with another assumption. They believe that this is time. And these layers mean something as far as when the animal actually existed rather than a flood. So now comes the calibration part. Remember, now they said they need to use the evolutionary clock. That's been calibrated. They even stated, and as you can tell, I included other videos, but she states that the cat clock is now calibrated. Calibrated to what? They looked inside, they saw the pedigree mutation rate, they ignored it and went directly to the pedigree mutation rate, because all they have to do is make it up as they go along. Matter of fact, I don't even remember ever reading a single pedigree mutation rate on any cat species. I don't know if it's been done. The only thing that I can think of that has ever been done as far as a pedigree rate with cats was done on a mummified cat from Egypt. And the results were exactly in line with the Earth creation. Brandon actually found that for me. So kudos on that move. And I had this idea that if we find ancient Egyptian mummified remains and we can get DNA from these things, then these are something that existed very soon after the flood. So therefore, we should find a lot fewer mutations. It's a good prediction for young Earth creation. So Brandon actually found a study for me where they found a mummified cat that had DNA preservation inside of it, and it actually did have fewer mutations, and the pedigree rate placed it around 1,000 generations, or I'm sorry, 1,000 years before that, where the common ancestor for it actually came from. That would place it around Noah's flood, so it totally makes sense. But it's another one that I'm going to save for a later date when we're coming up with our predictions video. So, oh, 1 second, I see a comment. Makes sense. Cats prey will follow the grass will grow. Exactly. You got to follow the herbivores, right? If the herbivores are migrating to where the grass is growing, you got to follow them. And that's where they're migrating. The cats are going to follow them. It only makes sense. But they can't see any other picture in their mind, right? To them, the whole world, it can be evolving different creatures out of nowhere. At exactly the same time or over eons of time, right? And remember, they believe cats evolved from a species of myacid, and it's a totally different creature altogether. So they need that to also be in the lineage of cats going back in time.
And guess what? We found one, but it wasn't in Africa, where we'd been looking all this time. In 2010, fossils of a new species of big cat were found in the Himalayas. It lived between 4.1 and 5.95 million years ago and was given the name Panthera blythei. Based on a partial skull and teeth, this cat was very similar to the modern snow leopard. So finally, a clue, a glimpse at what might be in that gap between modern big cats and their earliest ancestors.
All right. So as you can see, the skull looks like almost every other cat species that's out there. I mean, the difference really comes down to size and simple physiological, morphological differences without any, like, there's shifting of the bones around, like some will have a larger plate, others will have a smaller one. We're not finding anything unique. There's nothing new. You don't find a cat that now has horns. There's nothing evolutionary about it. Like, where's these transitions going back? Usually they try to line up different skulls and saying this evolved from that one. But I notice they don't really attempt to do that with cats, for good reason. And they're pretty much always the same, even when we look at the smallest house cat that's inside of somebody's apartment, and we look at a lion.
This new Himalayan cat made possible a whole new analysis of the big cat lineage. So in 2014, scientists combined morphological data from these new fossils, like skull measurements, with those of other fossil and modern cats. They also compared the DNA of modern cats to that of two recently extinct big cat species, the American lion and the Eurasian cave lion. They then added information about the geographic ranges of modern big cats and studied different models of how they could have spread across the world. Based on all the number crunching, these data point to big cats originating not in Africa, but in central northern Asia about 10.72 million years ago. Then over the next 8 million or so years before they start showing up in the fossil record, the big cats rapidly diversified, first in central northern Asia and later in Africa and North America. So the big cats that we have today, lions, tigers, leopards, and jaguars, are for now the descendants of ghosts. Ancestors whose existence we can infer but not yet prove. As influential as they are in the habitats where they live and in our imaginations, the full story of these cats remains as elusive as ever.
And there you have it. So the entire story that you guys hear about the evolution of cats does not exist. They make it up as they go along, and they admit that they are ghost lineages with no past history in the fossil record whatsoever. It's all inferred, and they admit this. Eons, this series of evolution on Eons, PBS, is pretty much the biggest series I've ever seen that literally answers nothing. All they do is, because they have no answers, is ask questions. So they've done pretty good. They mask evolution as science, and they mask not knowing with questions. But in reality, this is an education program to teach people about evolution when it actually doesn't teach you anything. It's actually trying to teach you by asking you questions, with the reality of it being that they don't have answers. And what I find pretty funny about a lot of this is that the things that they're pointing at actually are validating our model more and more and more. And I was putting pictures up there as things were going along, because they talk about these migration patterns and what we would expect to see if the arc was true, if a cat got off and was following different things around and going after different life forms, what would we see? It's almost identical to the pattern that we would expect. Remember, the Book of Jubilees mentions the arc of the Noah's flood coming down on the highest mountains on Earth. That's what Mount Ararat means. It means highest peak. It doesn't mean that there's a direct place or that it was the specific volcano that was in that area. It just could mean highest mountain range. Well, the highest mountain range is right here in this region. So you would think that if a cat were to get off of that arc, where would we find the original cats? Where would we find the ones that would be the most predominant, oldest in the fossil record, aka the ones that would be in land masses that would be exposed to the rock layers that would date the oldest based on radiometric dating? Well, remember, the entire region right here, which is the Himalayan mountain range, was pushed up during the flood. So it exposed most of the old layers. That's why there's fossils on the top of these, and it pushed the mountain ranges up. So they have the oldest rock layers on Earth that are exposed. So anything that would die on there would automatically be presumed to be the oldest on Earth. And lo and behold, that is that region. And that's where the oldest cats were found. So no surprise. They couldn't identify the species, and they don't believe in rapid speciation. So to them, tiger are different species. A lion's in Africa and a tiger is in India. And if millions of years had passed since they had a common ancestor, they would not be able to be put into a same room, be able to breed and produce an offspring. Because though it's a speciation event, deep time would have scrambled the DNA so much that their genetic compatibility would have made them useless at being able to reproduce with one another. But because they are able to reproduce with one another, it actually shows that speciation is a very rapid process and happened a very short time in the past. So the evolution of cats is actually one of the best proof of young earth creation that there is. So I usually advocate that people learn about the cats because they are great evidence, like bats are. Ooh, I see a question. We might expect something that they had to adapt in the Ice Age. Correct. The saber-toothed cat is the perfect example of a rapid adaptation for up in the ice. And what I mean by that is they had very thick, strong hair. They grew to a very large size, and their food sources were down to the mammoth. And because you can't bite through the hide of a elephant very well, imagine an elephant now with thick wool and fur on it. It's going to require much larger teeth. Well, guess what? The rapid teeth growth of saber-toothed cats was so quick and over such a short amount of generations that they were able to now choose the mammoth as the main food source for them to survive. Eventually, the mammoth migrated and got trapped on Wrangler Island. It was the last of them. They became inbred and died. So they weren't the main food source for those types of cats. So without a food source, they're not going to survive, and cats are very large, and they're not going to do good without lots and lots of flesh to eat like that, right? So the mammoth died, there went their food source, the saber-toothed cat is right behind it. So we see the rapid adaptation, and then we see their death. It's the same thing with the dire wolf. The dire wolf lived in the north. They were massive dogs. They were just another breed of species of wolf, and they followed the mammoth and the cat and the rhinoceros. They followed everything that went to the north, and they as well ran out of food, as you would imagine, scavengers, right? And without the mammoth, it seems like the mammoth was the main food source, and everything ate the mammoth, including man, right? Mankind, we find that people were using mammoth tusks to build homes out of, and we find those in the fossil record all the time. So clearly mankind was using these mammoth as well as a great food source. So let me double check what's going on. Yeah, I don't have much more time. But I got the video out of the way. That was the main one. I wanted to prove to you guys that they just make up a lot of things as they go along. They make up the mutation rate when it's needed because they believe that deep time is the only option. They don't need to see any observable rate. They can just ignore that. They can just use evolution to prove evolution. So it's ad hoc reasoning backed by more pseudoscience that's pawned off as actual science to prove their theory. Just more nonsense. Nothing I'd worry about, guys. Just more stuff that's easy to debunk. So until next time, I will throw on a commercial, and I'll see you guys in the next few days. I don't know when.
There's a reason intelligent design isn't taught in our learning institutions. The legal staff of Freedom from Religion Foundation, a church-state watchdog group, has had remarkable success in convincing many institutions, such as school boards and town councils, that they are breaking constitutional law when they sponsor sectarian activities. That includes intelligent design. When the authorities can't be convinced, Freedom from Religion Foundation sues, and it wins more often than not.
That's right, everyone. We are at war, Christians, and the sooner you realize this, the better. Your kids are going off to school and being bombarded with crazy secular nonsense, like the theory of evolution. This ends up driving a majority of believers away from the faith and will continue to. This is the main reason atheism is on the rise in America. This is the last thing we want, and it can be avoided. Most channels focus on evangelism, targeting unbelievers, and that's great, but I believe somebody needs to focus on the believers and equipping them with the knowledge and power to defend their faith and teach others to as well, and that is our channel. Scripture tells us, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, and I want you to have all of that knowledge at your fingertips. So whenever a teacher might throw at your kids some evidence for evolution, they will be equipped with the knowledge on how to defend their position. We have videos, books, articles, publications on academia.org and ResearchGate. Now, we do not make any money from these things. Even Amazon takes it all, but that's not why we write books or make YouTube videos. We make them for you. Here's a list of our books, for example. And we have books on nearly every subject now, and even more to come. You can find them on Amazon, creationistclothing.com, and standingfortruthministries.com. Here's all that I ask. Please do us a huge favor and help us out by leaving a review on any or all of these books. And the good news is you can do that without even purchasing a book. Hence why all of the negative atheists are leaving horrible reviews even though they've never read the book. And yes, these reviews really do help because they help others find the book, as the Amazon algorithm will promote the book more based on reviews. As a reminder, if you don't already have any of these books, just let me know, and I will send you a free PDF version. Just leave your email in the comment section below. Yo, I just saw the last comment. Big money backed secular. Exactly. Is it really a shame they would run the education system? Yeah, the Rockefellers funded. The Rockefellers are already rich. So what investment do they have for them to donate money to the education system? They said they need a nation of workers, not thinkers. So they need to indoctrinate us. They want us to make us useless at everything. So by making us useless, we rely on somebody else for a job. So we can't do what we need to on our own time. So just going through my notes, I usually leave the books that we have in the comment section so people can review them for us. Man, where'd I put them? Way down there, huh? What in the world? These are where I make a lot of my pictures in these Google documents. Ooh. Nah, not there. Anyway, guys, I'm just rambling now. I was supposed to end. Yeah, let me know if you guys want any of these books. But you'll have to leave your email. Don't worry. This is private member stuff, so the masses can't see your email if you want to leave one. Let me know what book you want. I'll send it over. Oh, I do not know where I put it. Well, it's in the comment section anyway, or I should say it's already in the description box, so I'll just copy and paste it over. You know what? I really, we're going to debunk a video I saw next time I go live, and it's going to be on this old earth creationist that doesn't like us. And Joel Duff, he tried to debunk genetic entropy, and I watched the video, And it was bad, guys. It was really, really bad. It was so bad that I couldn't believe a PhD was giving the review that he was. And we're going to pick that video apart the next time I go with the members here, okay? So stay tuned for that one. All right. Until next time, guys. Later.